Walk out to your fence line right now and set your thumb against a post, down low, where the wood meets the dirt. Push on it, hard. If it wiggles in the ground, or the wood goes soft and punky under your thumb, that post is already gone. It just has yet to fall down. And nobody told you because the man who sold you that fence was long down the road with your check before the ground line ever started to rot. That fence, and every fence ever strung, fails in the same two places, at the corner and at the ground line. Those two spots hold the whole thing up. And those are the exact two spots the outfit selling you a $9,000 fence spends the very least on. The men who fenced this entire country did the opposite. They spent everything they had on the corner and pennies on the rest. Their corners are still standing 100 years later, holding wire tight, while the shiny store-bought job leans over in a lot line after 15 summers. The contractor's quote is $9,000 for a quarter mile. Your version is a few good trees off your own place, a few dollars of brace wire, and your own sweat. And the whole difference hides in two spots the man rushes. Get those two things right, and you can fence a place for a fraction of what they quote you, with wire light enough to string by yourself, and it will outlast you. Start with the corner, because the corner is the whole game. Picture a fence as one long stretched rubber band. You pull it tight between 2 points, and all that pulling force lands on the two ends. The wire in the middle rides easy. The ends take the entire strain. On a fence, those ends are your corner posts and your gate posts. Every foot of wire you stretch is hauling those corner posts toward the middle of the run, day and night, in the summer heat that tightens the wire and the winter cold that pulls it tighter still. A single corner might have a quarter mile of stretched wire dragging on it. Set a fat post in a hole and tamp it, and it feels solid the day you set it. But it is one post against a quarter mile of pull. Give it a year. The top starts leaning in toward the field. The wire goes slack. Now the whole fence sags, and the cattle learn to lean on it, and it is finished. The line posts were fine. The corner failed, and it took the fence down with it. The old-timers' answer was the braced corner, the H-brace. It holds where a single post folds, and the reason is simple once you see it. If a fence that outlasts the man who built it is the kind of thing you want to know how to make, take a second right now and subscribe. It costs you a thumb tap, and it keeps these old ways coming your way. You set two big posts in line with your fence, standing about 8 feet apart. The first one is the actual corner. The second stands back down the line. Then you run a horizontal wooden rail between the two of them, up near the top, pinned so it stays put. That rail is a strut. When the wire tries to pull your corner post over, the rail shoves back against the second post and stops it cold. But a push needs something to anchor the bottom, or the whole pair just tips over together. That is the job of the brace wire. You run a wire from the top of the second post down to the base of the corner post diagonally, and you wrap it double and twist it tight with a stick until it hums. Now watch where the pull goes. The stretched fence hauls on the corner post. The top rail carries that push back to the second post. The diagonal brace wire ties the top of the second post to the base of the first, so the load runs down into the ground instead of tipping the corner over. The two posts, the rail, and the brace wire split the strain and drive it straight down into the dirt. That is the whole trick. A quarter mile of pull turned harmless by two posts and a twisted wire. For a really long pull, or soft ground, you build a double H. Same idea. 3 posts and 2 braces in a row, splitting the load twice. On most corners, a single H does the job for a lifetime. Your gates get the same treatment, and folks forget it every time. A gate post carries the stretched wire on one side and the dead weight of a swinging gate on the other, and that gate racks it back and forth every time you open it. A gate post wants to be your biggest, deepest, best braced post on the whole place. Brace it like a corner. Hang the gate to swing free and clear of the ground, and it will latch true for 30 years. Skip the brace, and inside a season, the gate sags, drags the dirt, and quits latching. Now the posts themselves, because a perfect brace on a rotten post is a wasted day. Set your corner posts deep. Line posts you can get away with 2 feet, but a corner wants 3.5 to 4 feet in the ground, and the fatter the post, the better. 6, 8 inches through if you can cut it. Dig the hole, set the post, and tamp the dirt back hard in layers, a few inches at a time, packing each layer with a bar until it rings. A corner post is only as strong as the dirt packed around it. Set your corners in the dry season, high summer or fall, when the ground is firm. A post tamped into wet spring mud sits loose the minute the ground dries and shrinks back off of it. Now the wood, and this is where the old-timers left real money on the table, because they knew which trees to cut, and most folks buying posts from the store have forgotten. The store post is treated pine. It looks fine going in, but pine is soft, and the treatment only soaks in so far, and at the ground line, where the wet dirt meets the air and the rot works hardest, a treated pine post set in wet ground can give out long before its number says it should. Set that same post down in a soggy draw, and you will be pulling it while the hedge post beside it is still ringing hard under a hammer. Cut yourself a post off your own ground from the right tree, and you play a whole different game. Osage orange, what a lot of folks call hedge or bois d'arc, is the king of them. The old-timers planted whole living fences out of it before wire ever came, horse-high, bull-strong, and hog-tight. The extension services and 100 years of farmers agree it stands 20 to 25 years and often far past it. Black locust is right beside it, 20 to 25 years and up, with some posts going past 50 in the ground. Eastern red cedar gives you 15 to 20 and decades in dry country. Those trees lay down their own rot-proofing, a natural oil and a tight, dense grain packed into the dark heartwood that the wet and the bugs struggle to get through. You want that dark, dense heartwood, the center of the tree, and you trim the pale sapwood off if you can, because the sap rots fast. A hedge or locust post set as heartwood in dry ground behind a good brace is a post your grandchildren will still be stretching wire on. There is an old trick for any wood too. Char the bottom of the post in a fire before you set it, just enough to blacken and harden the outside of the part that goes underground. That charred skin sheds water and slows the rot at the ground line. Men have sealed posts that way since long before a store existed to sell them a can of anything. Split your posts, and you do even better than sawing them. A post split out of a log along the grain follows the natural fibers of the wood and sheds water off the split face, where a sawed post cuts across the grain and drinks it in. Split them out with a maul and wedges, stack them in the air to season a few months, and set them dry. Now, all of that is real work, and a good fence is worth every hour you put into it. On raw land, it is the first real thing you build. It marks what is yours. It keeps your stock home and off the road, keeps the neighbor's bull out of your heifers, and keeps whatever trouble wanders on 2 legs on the far side of the line. A cow through a rotten fence and onto a dark highway is a dead animal, a wrecked truck, and a lawsuit. All of it born from one soft corner post a man kept meaning to get to. The fence is cheap. What a failed fence costs you when it lets go is anything but cheap. That is why you put your money and your hours into the corner and the ground line and skimp everywhere else. Once your corners are braced and your posts are the right wood set deep, the whole rest of the fence gets cheap and light because the corner is carrying the load. Between 2 good corners, The line posts do little but hold the wire up off the ground, so they can be small and they can stand far apart. On barbed wire, you run a post every 12 to 16 feet, and drop light wire stays between them to keep the strands spaced, using fewer posts still. You stretch the whole run tight off your braced corner with a come-along, and because the corner holds, it stays tight. That is how a country got fenced for pennies. Big money in the corners, cut from the land. Pennies in between. Lay the fence out smart, and you need fewer corners to begin with, because every corner is a whole brace to build. Run your lines dead straight between the points where the fence truly has to turn, and put a braced corner only where the line changes direction, where a gate goes or where a run gets so long past a few hundred feet that it needs a brace post in the middle just to hold the pull. Fewer corners, each one built right, beats a dozen weak ones. A man walks the line first with a string and some stakes and lays his corners before he digs a single hole. Now, where you run that fence matters as much as how you build it, and this is where reading your ground pays you back twice. Run your fence line along the high, dry ground wherever the lay of it lets you. A post on a dry rise sheds water and lives its full 30 years. That same post, set down in a wet draw, where the ground stays soaked, rots off at the dirt in 5, brace or no brace. If you walked the ground with me before, you already know how to read the wet low places. Keep your posts up out of them. A fence wants a little tending, and a few minutes of it saves the whole run. Walk it after a hard blow. Give a loose brace wire another turn of the twist stick, and reset a soft post before it drops and takes a stretch of wire with it. A 10-minute fix caught early. A weekend and a loose cow if you let it go. I will be honest about where the braced corner stops because it answers most fences, though a few it leaves to a lighter fix. It is real work, and it takes big timber. For a little garden pen or a short dog run, an H-brace is more than the job needs. Save it for the corners, the gates, the ends, and any long stretch or deep dip where the wire hauls hard. And the right wood depends on where you stand. Locust and hedge grow thick through the middle of the country. Out west, it is juniper or cedar. Wherever you are, the old hands around you already know which local tree makes the post that lasts. Ask an old rancher what he cuts for corners. He will tell you in one word. I will tell you where I got it wrong too, because a man learns more from that. I set a corner once in a hurry, and I got lazy on the tamping, just shoveled the backfill in loose and stomped it with my boot. Felt solid that evening. By spring, the frost had heaved it, and the pull had leaned it, and I dug the whole thing out and reset it right. The brace was perfect. The dirt around it was the weak link. A corner is only ever as good as the ground you pack around the post, and that part will punish a man for rushing it. So think back to that $9,000 quote from the start. You know now exactly what the man does cheap and where. The corner, the ground line. Those two carry the whole fence, and he does them fastest and cheapest so he can get down the road to the next job. Your few $100s go straight into those two. That is the whole difference between a fence that leans and a fence that holds. And the tools last you a lifetime. A chainsaw or an axe, a post hole digger, a heavy tamping bar, a come-along, and a pair of fencing pliers bought once are every tool a man needs to fence a whole section of ground, and his boy uses them after him. The men who strung the wire across this whole country worked without a catalog and without a contractor. They had an axe, a shovel, a spool of wire, and the knowledge of how to make a corner hold. They cut posts that outlived them. They braced corners that stand tight today in fields where nobody even recalls their names. That is the quiet thing about a fence built right. You build it for whoever works this ground 50 years after you are gone. They will run a hand along that tight old wire and never once wonder who set the corner. it just holds. That was always the whole idea. So go walk out to your own corner post and push on it, the way you did at the start. If it gives, you know now exactly what it needs. Then come tell me what you found down there at the ground line, and what your fella tried to charge you for a fence the land could have given you for the cost of the wire. The land already drew you the map.